anytime that you are asking how to get into the vortex, anytime you're asking for relief, or for clarity or for power, anytime you're asking for that, there is something that is causing negative emotion within you from which you could feel relief. So the way to feel relief is by just choosing words that feel more general. But what if you're just sort of feeling sort of like you're feeling, you don't have anything too sharply focused, and you've listened to us today and you want to take us really literally, so you want to make sure that you do it the right way and that you get into the vortex, or that you find this general grid, this good feeling grid before you start. And we say, instead, just get out there and live some life, and don't try too hard to figure it out. And let's say you get yourself into a place where you're feeling a little discomfort. Stop in the middle of that and say simply, well, I know what I don't want. I now know what I do want. And why do I want what I want? That statement of why do I want it will take you faster than any other question or any other point of focus to the vibrational essence of what you're looking for. In other words, you need some life to cause you to focus. We don't want you to feel that your work is just to meditate until a good idea shows up for you. What you're wanting to do is mix it up and mold this energy. It's fun to mold the energy. We just want you to mold the energy more from an emotional feeling place than from a thinking place. But how can you do that without getting out and mixing it up? And how can you be out there mixing it up without thinking about stuff? So just accept that you can't get it wrong and that you never get it done, and get out there and mix it up. And when something doesn't feel too good, say, oh, I think I'm going to try to go more general. So let's take a subject that's common. Let's say that you've decided that you want more money. And let's say that you have been thinking about it enough that some other people with their grids have come into your experience, and you're aware that there's a lot of prosperity around you, or a lot of financial success around you. Or maybe it comes because you're aware that there's a lot of people struggling around you. But anyway, through the process of observing life around you, you've come to a conscious realization that you would like to be personally more prosperous. So you set that intention, but you're not a vibrational match to it because you haven't done the vibrational work on the grid that we're talking about here. So then life just helps you to say things to yourself. You catch yourself saying things like, I wish that I had more money, or I sure would like to take that trip, or I don't know why that person has so much abundance, or my employer should pay me more, or I'm underappreciated at my work, or they're not asking nearly as much of me as I could give. I have much more to give than anybody is asking of me, and I just really haven't had a chance, and I didn't really apply myself that well earlier, and maybe that's why. And so it's getting more and more specific because law of attraction is bringing you more thoughts that feel like that, and it's also feeling more and more not good because you've introduced more resistance to the mix. But the good news is, with every piece of resistance that you introduce to the mix, with every knowing what you don't want, you also introduced a clear rocket of desire about what you do want to your vortex. So your vortex is getting brighter and brighter and more specific, but you don't have access to it in its brightness and in its specifics because you parlayed it into that from an awareness of what you don't want. You're specifically not feeling good while your vortex is specifically feeling really good. So what you want to do, and your words were perfect, we've offered them to you many times, you want to get into the vortex. Today we're saying you want to get to the basis of your good feeling emotion, which will fill in with more good feeling things. So now you're accepting that this vortex is full of all kinds of stuff that you want that you can't get to because you're vibrationally too active on too many specifics that don't match. Let's say that you're general, and as you're generally knowing what you don't want, you generally know what you do want. But as you more specifically know what you don't want, you more specifically know what you do want. And as you really know what you don't want, you really know what you do want. So what's happening is you are, without meaning to, becoming further apart. There's a wider and wider gap between what you really want and what you've been practicing. Does that make sense to you? That's why you would ask a question like, how do I get into the vortex? I'm finally accepting that it exists, and I'm finally accepting that there's good stuff in it, and I'm finally accepting that I put the good stuff in it, but I'm not able to get there easily. And we say, it's because you're too specific. So now you want to get more general. So you say things like, well, I don't have to figure it out all at once. And I bet that person didn't figure it out all at once either. And well-being eventually could make its way to me. And I'm pretty sure I would like it when it did, if it ever did. And there's no real urgency here, or nothing that I can't handle. And there are all kinds of ways to feel prosperous in this environment. And there are a lot of meaningful things that don't even involve money at all. In other words, this conversation that you're having is for one purpose only, to get general enough that the discomfort of not having the specifics that you want is soft. So as you get more general, I'm glad that I don't have to figure it out today, because I'm not figuring out today. And I know that good things are coming to me and that eventually they will make their way to me. And I really wouldn't want them all to come at once, because I'm really wanting to save, now maybe you do, but I'm wanting to savor the process a little bit more. And I've experienced this before, where I've just relaxed and good things begin coming. And I really like knowing that I am the creator of my own reality. And this idea of this grid is just fascinating to me. I like thinking that I could talk myself into feeling better. And I even can feel now that the stress that I was feeling a little bit ago has lifted off of me. I've shifted in a whole new place. And I like Abraham's acknowledgement that that is a manifestation too. I have managed within a very short period of time to manifest an entirely different emotion than I had manifested earlier. I can feel that I'm creating a different vibrational grid. This feels really good to me. I like knowing that I can direct my own thoughts. And it was easy because I was just looking for more general things. I wasn't trying to figure out the specifics of it. When I ask who or where or what or when and don't have the answer to that, it doesn't help me, so I'm not asking that. I'm just asking, what is it that I want and why do I want it? I'm just focusing on that and I'm feeling better. You are feeling better. So now you've done that. Then you could say something, and we would punctuate it with a conscious, deliberate statement like, that was good work. That was really good work. I laid a really good basis here and I'm feeling great. I think I'll go eat something. Or I think I'll take a walk. I'm feeling really, really good. In other words, I'm feeling good. That felt great. That was good work. That felt great. That was good work. That felt great. That was good work. Now, immediately, from that accomplishment of that emotional manifestation, which we are, now that it's a manifestation, we're going to give it the word grid as its label. Now I'm consciously acknowledging that I've conjured an emotion. I'm going to call it a grid, and I expect that grid to fill in with things that are fun as it begins filling in. And then watch what begins to happen. You just begin hooking up with person after person. Ideas will come to you. Ideas that you know you've never had before will occur to you, and you will be certain that it's because you accomplished vibrational alignment with something, you say. That's our new version of getting into the vortex. So if you're not feeling good, what's your intention? Go general. If you're feeling great, what's your intention? Get more specific. Can you hear us when we say, when you feel good, all of us in your vortex, then turn up the heat and become more specific? When you start feeling good and you consciously acknowledge that you did it on purpose, all of your non-physical support then begins turning up the heat, so to speak. And you call it inspiration. But we really want to build this foundation because this is really the leading edge of deliberate creation. So you think we're a little schizophrenic because we say, focus on what you want. And then we say, don't focus on what you want if what you want isn't happening, because if you focus upon what you want from your awareness that isn't happening, then you practice a contradictory vibration to what you really want. So then we began saying, what you want's in the vortex, so you just chill. Have a massage, pet your cat, go for a swim, meditate, do anything that you can do to put yourself in a place of non-resistance, and then the grid will begin to fill in. And so then physical friends would say, but I like to be specific, but when I'm specific, and it's not going well, then I'm shooting myself in the foot. So we say, well, be aware. Be as specific as you can be and still feel good. Because you want to be specific. But here's the thing that we most want to introduce into this conversation. It isn't you that is being specific. It's the grid filling in that is bringing the specifics. And if you can follow that, in other words, so Abraham, are you really saying that I'm just observing and throwing stuff out there, and then I'm just finding a way to line up with it, and that as it fills in and I observe the specifics, that's really what creation is? And we say, that's what it is. How about that? So now, here's another piece of it that's really good. So, if you can go general and stay there long enough with non-resistance, that's why meditation helps you, then as your grid begins to fill in, and you begin to notice it, what happens is you get better and better and better and better at discerning the subtleties of those specifics. Did you follow that? In other words, it's fun when you say, I want that, and it's big and you point at it and it comes. That's fun. That's fun. But the real deliciousness, if you're an artist, you want to get really good at it. You don't want to paint with a great big old paintbrush that you'd paint the house with if you're painting on canvas. In other words, you want something that is more refined, don't you? And so the same thing is true with this energy. Once you get the hang of this and you begin to feel the subtleties, so then it becomes as satisfying. Here it is. This is what we've been reaching for. So for someone, we said you like the drama of it because you like to feel the energy moving. So when you really know what you don't want and you really know what you do want, when you finally find a way of no longer offering the resistant vibration and what you do want manifests, it feels really exhilarating to you. But it is equally exhilarating when you start refining your ability to discern this vibration. You want this a little. It's something that is really refined, and you come into vibrational alignment with it. So here's what we're getting at. Your ability to perceive is growing exponentially with the details that you're putting in your vortex. You see how it works? Did you follow that? It was way out there on the leading edge. We want you to get really, really, really good at discerning the subtle differences in energy. And when you're really, really good at it, those subtle differences, when they flow into your grid, will be every bit as satisfying as those big ones that you think you want. All right, now here's the big piece. Those big ones that you think you want can't happen. Those big quantum leaps that you're reaching for can't happen. Because if you've practiced one vibration, it can't fill in with another, you see. The closest thing to a quantum leap you're ever going to experience is when you feel your vortex full and you croak. That's a quantum leap. But as long as you're still here in this physical body, you really want to get good at devouring, of savoring the deliciousness of the subtleties of that, you see. How you feel. Not the thought that caused the feeling, how you feel. Because if you focus on how you feel, then you're tending to your grid. If you're tending to your grid, the details will fill in, and when they do, you can focus on them. Finally, we've got creation turned around in the way that it always has meant to be by the laws of the universe, yes? The thought causes the feeling, but when you focus on the feeling, then the thought comes. That's what attraction is. There's no assertion. It's all attraction. It's about preparing yourself vibrationally. It's like, I'm going to ready myself for the manifestations I seek. That's what the best description of deliberate creation is. I'm going to vibrationally ready myself for the filling in of the grid. You can get yourself into a general enough place, just chewing with us. In other words, as we're having this conversation, it's happening on many more levels than a verbal level. It's a vibrational thing that's going on. And so your vibration is raising and raising and raising and raising and raising. Your grid is drastically improved as a result of focusing in an arena like this. And so then, as you are just paying attention to the grid filling in, and you are making the association between what came and how you felt before, now you've got it, you see. But if you're just blundering around, observing, creating grids, not being aware that you're creating them, not knowing one from the other, just knowing that life is up and down, and stuff's happening, and you're not able to make any association between what flowed into what grid and how that grid felt while you were making it, that's creating by default. Deliberate creating is so much more delicious.